Hi guys, welcome to this week's roundup of the Fife property market and what's going on across Fife itself. Primarily focusing on the number of transactions in the areas and what it tells us overall. So we're going to look at across Fife again. We're going to look at the numbers. We looked at them in week 1 in October. We looked at them at week 2, and this is week 3 in October. So let's take a look at week 3. So in the Cooper area, from the 14th to the 24th, we have over across Fife, there's been 16 properties instructed to go to market. There's been 16 properties sold. So that means the market's quite stable. In East Neuk, there's been 3 properties instructed and 6 sold. That kind of is recipe for overheating in terms of the market. We've got St Andrews, 6 instructed and 6 sold. Leavenmouth, 10 instructed and 11 sold. We've got Dunfermline, 53 instructed and only 49 sold. This kind of goes in line with the previous weeks, where it tells us that the Dunfermline market is beginning to cool down a bit. Glenrothes market, 16 instructed and 15 sold, again in a similar direction. And the Kirkcaldy market, 43 instructed and 27 sold. So that tells us the Kirkcaldy market is definitely cooling down. So overall across Fife, according to Rightmove, there's been 147 properties instructed and 130 sold overall. Now, what it does tell me when I'm looking at these numbers, they go in line with the previous week and the week before and right throughout October. So what it does tell us in the Leavenmouth, Cooper, East Neuk and St Andrews markets, they are still beginning to grow in terms of demand, and demand is outstripping supply, which primarily means that asking prices end result prices will probably go beyond home report. People will be expected to pay more in these areas. When it comes to the Kirkcaldy, Glenrothes, Dunfermline market, we'll tend to find that because there's a lot more properties coming into the market than there's a lot more being sold, there tends to be a wee bit more oversupply in the market, which means the market in these areas will be cooling down and the prices won't be as dramatic in terms of the offers over value. Some of them might actually tend to be lower than the actual value itself. So that tends to me, and that goes in line with what we are experiencing. In the East Neuk, St Andrews market and Leavenmouth market and Glenrothes market, we tend to be getting more, some significantly more. In the Leavenmouth area for £160,000 property, we managed to achieve 13,000 more recently. In the East Neuk area, we managed to achieve again significantly more for properties. And the St Andrews area, I did some numbers on that. And in the St Andrews area, since the start of the year, we've managed to, every property we've sold, 100% of our properties we've sold has achieved over the asking price itself or the home report value. Often, on average, about 15,000 more in the St Andrews area over the home report value. So that then tells us the market is still continuing to grow in there. One of the things I want to cover as well, I've been asked quite a lot about overall the opinion on, is it the fees I should be focusing on in terms of when I go to instruct an estate agent? Should I focus on the fees? So thanks very much, Fiona, for your question. And I'll probably give you an example about why I think that shouldn't be the most important thing to you. It should really be track record and results, and I'll show you an example of how that works. Now, why I mean by track record, I mean, primarily, you should be asking your agent, whoever that person is that sits in front of you, is what is your track record this year for achieving more than the home report value itself on the properties that you've been sold? Irrespective if you've sold any properties in this area at all, just right across the board, what is your track record? That shows you straight away that you're the agent, how well they negotiate with buyers on your behalf. That's really what that comes down to. If you're just solely choosing an agent on a fee, well, cheapest chips, you can go for the cheapest one ever. Just go for doorsteps. £99. If it's all about getting on Rightmove, prime location in Zoopla, £99 for doorsteps.co.uk will get you on that market. But primarily, it's not really the cheapest fee it'll get you, and I'll show you why. Okay, so let's take 2 extremes here. a 1% agent versus a 2% agent, and we'll make a couple of assumptions. 2% agent could achieve more because they're strong negotiators. So let's take a typical example, and we'll look at this here. So here's a classic example. Now, one agent has negotiated, the 1% has negotiated £100,000. The 2% agent has got an extra 102,000, another £2,000. And the same goes for 200 and 205 and 300 and 310. Now, that is perfectly achievable because I have seen that happen and I witnessed that happen. So when you solely focus on fee here, you think to yourself, well, perfect, I would go for the 1%. But look what happens when you actually work that out, what the end result is with the money in your pocket. So the fee ends up, look, 1,200, 244, 240, 2,400 versus 4,920, 3,600 versus 7,440. That's unbelievable. 7,440. I would never be paying that. But let's look at the next steps here when they achieve what they achieve. Look at the result of the money in your pocket. The 1% agent actually 198,800 versus 99,552. The next one 197,600 versus 200,080. The next one 296,400 versus 302,560. So that then proves right under this model, if you get a really good negotiator, I'm not saying get one at 2%, to be honest. If you get a really good negotiator, they can negotiate far more over the offers over asking price. Therefore, the extra in your pocket in these scenarios is 752, 2,480, 6,160 in these scenarios. Now, here's a wee fly one. What happens is what lower fee estate agents tend to do. They tend to backload other things like you pay us for the viewings. You pay us extra for the home report. You pay us extra for the photographer. You pay us extra for legals. And here's a classic example where they backload sometimes. I have seen quite a few solicitor estate agents do this. So the backload the legals, so the 1% in legals end up being 1,600. Now, we know ourselves, us personally, we are £1,000. So I'm just taking £1,000 in that example when we have negotiated with agents, with solicitors. It's usually £1,000 all in with them. And you tend to find some other solicitors are a lot more. So that's where you tend to find the add-ons get added on there in terms of the extra money. So a 1% agent, you've got to watch, or a low fee estate agent, you've got to watch there's not additionals that they're adding on. So you've got to look at the overall price itself. And then when you look at this scenario again, you're £600 up on every single scenario in your legals, which actually ends up you £1,300 better off in the first scenario. You're about 3,000 better off in the next one, and you're almost about 7,000 off in the next one. So it's a clear, stark indication that focusing on fee alone is not necessarily the right answer. Please do your homework. Make sure there's no additional add-ons. Make sure there's no small print. Make sure there's transparency in the transaction. When you go to list with an estate agent, make sure they've got a track record. Not necessarily the biggest agent in the board in the area with all the boards. That's not what counts. That means, to me personally, if you've got the biggest estate agent in the area with all the boards, that means you're competing with a number of other properties they've got in the market at a similar price point. That's what that means to me personally. But it just depends on what scenario you want. So as I say, you should never focus on the fee alone. You should look at the overall picture and make sure there's no additional add-ons and they don't get it via other methods, through a solicitor add-on, through a home report add-on, through an additional admin add-on, through a viewings add-on, through a professional photographer add-on. So you don't want to be through a home tour add-on, through a drone tour add-on. There's all additional things that these people, through a mortgage add-on, there's all additional things that these agents make money and agents tend to do in terms of, and that's why they can do it for such a low fee, because everybody focuses on that fee in the beginning. So I'm not saying that 1 and 2%. There's somewhere in between. There's maybe a 1.5, there's maybe a 1.25. So make sure you do your homework first. And a parting comment. When your agent goes to list your property on the market, make sure it's on a 10,000 banding. If you can, don't put it on offers over 99,950 or 99,500. And the reason for that is, and I'll show you right now, is because all the portals search in £10,000 bandings. So if you have a buyer, it's going to search for your property up to the £100,000 point, because they can't search up to £99,950. They have to search up to get your property up to 100,000. But if they search up to 100,000 and you've got it on at 99,950, everybody that searches from 100,000 onwards will miss your property completely because you're £50 less than that. Everybody that searches up to 90,000 and you're below 90,000, just below it by £1 even, will miss you from £90,000 onwards. And again, if you're up to 200,000 or 180,000, 160,000, if somebody lists your property, an agent lists your property at £159,950, then immediately that's going to preclude you from every search from 160,000 upwards. Now, the key here is, if you're in 160,000 upwards and they put you at 159,950 and you're missed at 160 upwards, you're missed in the lowest banding. Your property, if it's 160,000 home report valuation and it's put £50 below, will actually look the least expensive in a search for 160,000 upwards, which will make your property look more attractive. So if your agent has just put your property on at £500 or £50 or £1 lower than that actual 10,000 banding, you've lost half your audience. And that could be the person that will pay the most money for your property. So if you need more information, or you need help, or you need effort, anything at all, please message me direct on this, or give me a call anytime, or send me an email on jim@fifeproperties.co.uk. Be more than happy to help you. And that's it for the weekly roundup for the Fife property market. And I'll see you all next week at 8 o'clock.